Welcome to a disturbing journey into the dark side of academia. Imagine brilliant minds, not just studying crime, but becoming the very subjects they once researched. It's a chilling reality that some of our most educated individuals in criminal justice and forensics have crossed the line from observer to perpetrator. What drives these academics to allegedly commit the very acts they've spent years analyzing? Today, we'll explore the unsettling cases of scholars who traded their textbooks for rap sheets, leaving us to question the fine line between understanding crime and committing it. Let's delve into the case of Brian Kohberger, a name that sent shockwaves through both academic and law enforcement communities. Kohberger wasn't just any suspect. He was a 28-year-old PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. His academic pursuits were deeply rooted in understanding criminal behavior and the justice system. Kohberger's background is particularly chilling. He was studying criminal justice and criminology, the very fields dedicated to solving and preventing crimes. He was even teaching intro to criminal justice courses as part of his graduate studies. It's a stark reminder that knowledge itself is neutral, it's how it's applied that matters. The crimes Kohberger is accused of are brutal. In November 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in their off-campus residence. The savage nature of the attacks left the community reeling and investigators scrambling for answers. What makes this case particularly disturbing is how Kohberger's alleged actions seem to mirror the very subjects he studied. Did his academic knowledge potentially help in planning or attempting to cover up the crime? It's a question that haunts investigators and the public alike. This case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, those who understand the criminal mind best may be capable of the very acts they study. Let's rewind to the 1930s and explore the case of Richard Bruno Hauptmann. This German-born carpenter became infamous for his alleged involvement in one of the most notorious crimes of the 20th century, the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. Hauptmann's technical skills as a carpenter were believed to have played a crucial role in the crime. Investigators claimed he used his expertise to construct the ladder used to reach the second-story window of the Lindbergh home. This custom-made ladder was a key piece of evidence in the case. Moreover, Hauptmann's background in engineering and mechanics was thought to have aided him in planning and executing the complex kidnapping scheme. His ability to craft intricate wooden structures and understand structural integrity made him a prime suspect. While Hauptmann maintained his innocence until the end, his case remains a chilling example of how technical knowledge can potentially be misused in criminal activities. Now, let's turn our attention to a chilling case that shook the academic world in 2010. Dr. Amy Bishop, a Harvard-trained biologist and professor at the University of Alabama, stunned her colleagues and the nation when she opened fire during a faculty meeting, killing 3 fellow professors and wounding 3 others. Bishop's academic pedigree was impressive. Her expertise in biology and neuroscience had earned her respect in scientific circles. But beneath the surface of her academic achievements lurked a troubled mind. Some speculate that Bishop's scientific knowledge may have fueled her actions. Her understanding of human biology and brain function could have desensitized her to the gravity of taking a life. Moreover, her academic background might have fed into a sense of intellectual superiority, potentially distorting her perception of consequences. This case serves as a stark reminder that even those with the highest levels of education can be capable of horrific acts, leaving us to ponder the complex relationship between knowledge, mental health, and criminal behavior. Now, let's turn our attention to a chilling case that sent shockwaves through the UK. Stephen Griffiths, a criminology student at Bradford University, became infamously known as the crossbow cannibal. Griffiths had an intense fascination with serial killers, particularly Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. This obsession, it seems, wasn't just academic. In 2010, Griffiths was arrested for the murders of 3 women in Bradford. His crimes were particularly brutal, involving dismemberment and, in one horrifying instance, the use of a crossbow. What's most disturbing is how Griffiths' academic pursuits seemed to fuel his crimes. He reportedly viewed himself as a criminologist studying serial killers from the inside, blurring the line between research and reality in the most horrific way possible. This case raises troubling questions about the potential dangers when academic fascination with crime spirals into something far more sinister. While it's crucial to understand that the vast majority of criminology and psychology students become excellent professionals dedicated to justice, we can't ignore the rare instances where academic knowledge intersects with criminal behavior. This raises an intriguing question. Can extensive exposure to criminal case studies or forensic techniques potentially blur ethical boundaries for certain individuals? It's important to note that academic study itself doesn't trigger criminal behavior. However, for a very small percentage of individuals, particularly those with pre-existing psychological predispositions, immersing themselves in the dark realities of crime might have unforeseen consequences. Consider the psychological impact of constantly analyzing violent crimes, studying the minds of serial killers, or diving deep into forensic techniques. For most, this knowledge strengthens their resolve to combat crime. But for a tiny minority, it might desensitize them to violence or even spark a morbid fascination. Some experts suggest that this constant exposure could potentially normalize criminal behavior in vulnerable minds. Others argue that the detailed understanding of criminal psychology and forensic techniques might embolden those already inclined towards criminal activities, giving them a false sense of superiority or invincibility. It's a complex issue without easy answers. While we celebrate the crucial role of criminal justice education in creating a safer society, we must also acknowledge the rare but significant cases where this knowledge has been misused, prompting us to consider the ethical implications of how we teach and study crime. Understanding criminal psychology and forensics is typically a powerful tool for justice. It helps law enforcement solve crimes and prevent future ones. However, in the wrong hands, this knowledge can be dangerously misused. Criminals with forensic training might know exactly how to eliminate evidence, making detection more challenging. They could exploit weaknesses in investigative procedures or manipulate crime scenes to mislead investigators. For instance, someone familiar with DNA analysis might take extra precautions to avoid leaving genetic material at a crime scene. Those who understand blood spatter patterns could potentially stage a scene to suggest a different sequence of events. Knowledge of criminal profiling could even help a perpetrator create false leads or adopt behaviors that don't fit the typical profile, throwing investigators off track. While these skills are meant to catch criminals, they can unfortunately also be used to evade justice, highlighting the potential dangers when this specialized knowledge falls into the wrong hands. We've explored some truly shocking cases today, where the line between studying crime and committing it became blurred. From Brian Kohberger to Stephen Griffiths, these stories challenge our assumptions about academia and criminal behavior. What do you think drives someone from the classroom to crime? Is it the knowledge itself, or something deeper? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more in-depth looks at true crime cases like these, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, stay curious, but stay on the right side of the law.
Hey listeners, welcome back to The Real Crime Diary. I'm your host, Sean Dupree. If you tuned in last time, we had a deep dive into the disturbing history of power abuse across different eras, looking at the connection between dominance, control, and how it plays out even today. We touched on scandals from the past and compared them with some modern-day examples, showing how these patterns of abuse, unfortunately, persist. One of the most insightful tools we've explored to understand this is my book, Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's not just a historical account, but an interdisciplinary approach to understanding why this keeps happening. We draw from history, philosophy, and modern case studies to explain how figures like Dominique Pellico, Harvey Weinstein, and others have exploited their positions of power for their own gain, often protected by the very systems meant to stop them. Recap of last interaction. In our last live stream, we discussed how libertinism, philosophically introduced by figures like Marquis de Sade, has shaped the way power and pleasure have been entangled throughout history. This concept ties directly into how figures like Weinstein operated, as we saw parallels between de Sade's fictional characters and the way powerful men manipulated their victims in real life. You guys had some amazing comments, asking how societal structures have allowed these behaviors to go unchecked for so long. It's a crucial question, and one that the book addresses deeply. Why this book is valuable. Now, what's powerful about Power, Pleasure, and Pain is its ability to break down these historical patterns and link them to the present. You're not just reading about ancient Rome or Enlightenment philosophy. You're seeing how these ideologies are alive today. The book uncovers how sexual violence and control have been systematically woven into the fabric of societies from ancient times right up to the modern era. It's about understanding not just the individual predators, but the systems that protect them, whether it's in royal courts, religious institutions, or today's corporate and entertainment worlds. Through these historical lenses, we also explore movements like #MeToo that are beginning to dismantle these structures. The fight for justice is far from over, but as the book demonstrates, we are in the midst of a cultural shift where legal reforms are finally addressing these long-standing issues. It's more than a history lesson. It's a guide to understanding and supporting change today. What's next? If you want to dive deeper, I suggest picking up Power, Pleasure, and Pain, a study of abuse through time. It's available now, and trust me, it will change the way you think about power, pleasure, and control. We've even got some exclusive content coming up on the channel where we'll be exploring the book's case studies in even more detail, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to The Real Crime Diary so you don't miss any updates. Let's keep this conversation going, because understanding the past is key to changing the future.